Turn with me to the Gospel according to St. John, chapter 5, and it should be coming up on the screen. Verses 2 through 8. St. John, chapter 5, verses 2 through 8. And now, there is at Jerusalem by the sheep market a pool, which is called in the Hebrew tongue Bethesda, having 5 porches. In these lay a great multitude of impotent folk, blind, halt, withered, waiting for the moving of the water. For an angel went down at a certain season into the pool and troubled the water. Whosoever, John likes to use that word, whosoever. Then first, after the troubling of the water, stepped in, was made whole, or whatever disease he had. And a certain man was there, which had an infirmity 38 years. When Jesus saw him lie, he knew that he had been there a long time in that case. He said unto him, Wilt thou be made whole? And the impotent man answered him, Sir, I have no man, when the water is troubled, to put me into the pool. But while I am coming, another steppeth down before me. Verse 8, Jesus said to him, Arise, take up thy bed, and walk. And you may again be seated in the presence of the Lord. I'd like to talk to you this afternoon from this subject, Jesus makes the difference. Or the Gospel of St. John, some call the Gospel according to St. John the simple gospel. But really, the Gospel according to St. John is one of the most profound books of the Bible. For it is there that we read, For God so loved the world. It is said that the book of St. John was probably written around the close of AD 100. It is believed that all of the apostles were now dead and only John was left. You remember the apostle John, don't you? He was the beloved disciple. As Jesus was dying on the cross, he said to John, Take care of my mother. Nobody else tells the story like John tells of the spear being thrust into the side of Jesus and the issue of blood and water coming from the side of Jesus. When it comes to the book of John, he does not take the usual route. He does not take us back to Bethlehem as does Mark and Matthew and Luke. They take us back to Bethlehem, but John doesn't take us back to Bethlehem. John takes us through a vast emptiness of space. He takes us back when there was no where to take back to. He takes us back to the beginning that had no beginning. St. John chapter 1 verse 1, in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. But he takes it back beyond that. Some say that the world is 3 billion years old. Other scientists say that the earth was formed 4.6 billion, would it be, years ago, when a mixture of dust and gases combined. But that's only the beginning of our solar system and the beginning of the earth. For God has no beginning. He always has been. You see, God stepped out on nothing because there was nothing for him to step out on. In our text, St. John chapter number 5, by the sheep gate in the city of Jerusalem, there was a pool in the Hebrew tongue called Bethesda, having 5 porches. Again, the gate was called the sheep gate. Why was it called the sheep gate? It was because it was here that the sheep were brought to be washed and prepared for sacrifice. The pool of Bethesda became a special place for those who were sick and are afflicted. Chapter 5 verse 4 says, "For the angel came down at a certain season and troubled the water. And whosoever stepped in first after the troubling of the water was made whole of whatever disease that he may have had." Let's look at the pool of Bethesda. It was not a health spa, ladies. It was not a Burke Williams. You ladies know about Burke Williams. You can get a massage at Burke Williams. You can get a facial. You can get a pedicure. But the pool of Bethesda was not a health spa. It was not a place where you did water aerobics. Lord, help me preach here today. No, it was a place of pain and misery. It was a place of disappointment. Verse number 3 said, "In these lay a great multitude of blind, of lame, and of paralyzed, waiting for the troubling of the water. They lay there day after day, week after week, month after month, and some year after year." I believe that they probably bonded with each other because they all had the same similar situations. And the Bible introduces us to a certain man. It's interesting. We don't know his name. We don't know his family. We don't know anything about him other than his condition. Lord, help me preach here today. Interesting. We don't know his name. We don't know what city he came from. We don't know anything about him. The only thing we know about him is his situation. What was his situation? He had been disabled for 38 years. For 38 years, he had depended upon the help of others. For 38 years, he was the victim of paralysis. Paralysis is a loss of muscle function. In other words, something went wrong between the man's brain and his motor skills. The man's brain would say, "Walk." Send the message to the feet and the legs, and the brain would say, "Feet, leg, walk." But the feet and the legs say, "We can't walk. We've got a disease. We've got a disconnect." And so the brain again would say, "Walk." And again, the legs and the feet would say, "We can't do what you have commanded us to do." He had paralysis. He had a disconnect. And you know, there are a lot of folk around today who have paralysis, who are disconnected. For 38 years, this man was disabled. Over and over again, he tried and failed over and over again. But at last resort, somebody brought him to the pool. However, after him being there so long, those who brought him gave up on him, and they went back home. 38 years is a long time to wait on anything. Come on, help me preach. Look at somebody and say 38 years is a long time to wait on anything. Most people would have given up within 38 years. It was at this man's lowest point, when his hope seemed to be gone and zero, that Jesus shows up. And when Jesus shows up, failure turns into success. Despair turns into hope. Sorrow turns into joy. Discouragement turns into courage. Defeat turns into triumph. Mule barrels get full when Jesus shows up. And you know, he likes to show up when the odds are stacked against you. Whatever you're dealing with, you may have to look through your tears. But if you look through your tears long enough, you'll find Jesus. If you made mistakes, if you can look through your mistakes, you can find Jesus. You may have experienced setbacks, but if you can, through your setbacks, look through them long enough, you can see Jesus. For if you look for him, you'll find him there. Without asking, Jesus knew all about this man's situation. Let me say it again. Without asking him, Jesus knew all about his situation. I came to this 116th Holy Convocation to talk to somebody, to let you know that Jesus already knows about your situation. Can I talk to some bishop or some supervisor? He knows about your situation. Some district superintendent or district missionary. I'm here to tell you that Jesus knows about your situation. Some pastor who is struggling, and you don't know whether you're going to be successful or not. And some pastor's wife, I want you to know that Jesus already knows about your situation. But some mother, the kids are acting crazy and they're acting stupid. You've done all you could to train and teach them and bring them up in the nurture of the Lord, and they have chose to go a different direction. But I want you to know that Jesus, without asking you, already knows about your situation. Some youth leader, he knows your situation. Some choir master, some musicians, he knows about your situation. Even when you don't feel comfortable in telling anybody else about your situation. You know, as a rule, we tell folks some of our situations, but it's bad to talk to just anybody about other situations. He already knows your situations. He knows your fears. He knows your hurts. He knows your disappointments. However, this man's biggest problem was he himself. Why do you say that? Is because he was looking for help in the wrong place. Well, I thought you said the pool of Siloam was the right place because that's where the angel came down once a year to trouble the water. I thought that was the right place. It may have been for some, but not for him. His eyes are on the pool. His eyes are focused on the water when they needed to be focused on Jesus. And somebody is watching the pool today, and you're looking at your situation today. You're looking at your hurt and your disappointment today, but don't look at those things. Cast your eyes on Jesus. Notice, if you please, Jesus does not ask the man, do you want me to help put you in the pool? No, Jesus does not ask him that. Jesus asked him, do you want to be made whole? After finishing Jesus all about his life story, about while I'm on my way, somebody who is more able than I steps in first. Jesus' question still remains, do you want to be made whole? Jesus says to the man, arise, in other words, get up, take up your bed and walk. Get up, take up your bed and walk. The man, hearing the voice of Jesus, got up, but he couldn't do that before. How could he get up? Because Jesus made the difference. Jesus says, take up your bed. He couldn't do that before. Jesus told him to walk. He couldn't do that before, but when Jesus told him to get up, take up your bed and walk, the man got up. Why was he able to get up? He was able to get up because Jesus made the difference. When we first meet this man, he is on his back, on his bed. But now his bed is on his back. Jesus makes the difference. He makes the difference between whether you're going to heaven or whether you're going to hell. He makes the difference whether you're going to be successful or whether you're going to be a failure. He makes the difference whether you're going to be a victim or a victor. Jesus makes the difference. Look at somebody and say, Jesus makes the difference. He makes the difference because there's nobody like Jesus. He is the only one who can deal with nothing. Help me say, he's the only one who can deal with nothing. He's the only one that can make something out of nothing. You see, man doesn't know how to deal with nothing because you can't find nothing because there's nothing to find. You can't lose nothing because there's nothing to lose. You can't add nothing because there's nothing to be added. You can't subtract nothing because there's nothing to be subtracted from. You can't multiply nothing because there's nothing to be multiplied to. Help me say, Jesus makes the difference. You all sit down for a moment. He makes the difference in the world. Before his coming, the calendar was dated BC, before Christ. But after he came, BC is now changed by AD. It means the year of our Lord. And so he makes the difference when it comes to the world's calendar. Before he came, somebody help me say before he came, children were unimportant. The disciples said to the children, get away, but Jesus rebuked them and said, suffer the children to come unto me and forbid them not, for such is the kingdom of heaven. Help me say, Jesus makes the difference. Jesus brought dignity to women. Mary has an ambassador box, a very expensive perfume. She pours on the feet of Jesus, and she anoints his feet and dries his feet with her hair. And Judas, y'all know him, don't you? Judas Iscariot. Anybody know Judas? Judas stirred up the crowd, and Judas said, what a waste, because this perfume could have been sold for much and the money given to the poor. But Jesus said, let her alone, because what she's done for me, she's anointed me for my burial. And I tell you that wherever this gospel is preached, it's going to be done as a memorial unto her. Before he came, people could change their action, but they couldn't change their hearts. Let me say it again. Before he came, people could change their action, but they couldn't change their hearts. But Jesus is the only one who can change a man's heart. Help me say, he's the only one who can change a man's heart. No power on earth can dethrone him. No king is equal to him. Jesus is his name. Will you help me call his name? Help me call Jesus. Does anybody know who he is? Well, help me call his name again, Jesus. And I used to hear the old saints say, come on, Jesus, because we can't do nothing until you come. Help me say, Jesus makes the difference. If I can call the witness or two, 10 lepers were dying of leprosy, about to be buried by the same undertaker. When they saw Jesus, they cried out, Jesus, thou son of David, have mercy on us. Jesus made the difference. A woman with an issue of blood said, if I can just touch the hem of his garment, I'll be all right. He'll make a difference. Lazarus would have said, I was dead 4 days in the grave, but Jesus came to the grave and made a difference. Andrew found a little boy with just a little boy's lunch of 2 fish and 5 small biscuits, but they gave them to Jesus, and he fed 5,000 men and women. Oh, Lord, I'm closing. Jesus made a difference of a poor lady who had been a victim of circumstance. Lord, help me preach. She was found guilty of adultery. Y'all sit down a minute. wasn't hearsay. It wasn't they said she was. She was caught in the very act of adultery. And they brought her to Jesus as she was, almost naked. He was teaching in the temple and said, we caught her in the very act of adultery. Moses and the law said, stone her. What do you say? Hey, Lord. When I look at this picture, something's wrong. Look at the neighbor and say, something wrong. If she was caught in the very act, there's got to be another party involved. I'm going to let you figure it out. According to the law, they had to have two witnesses. So who were the two witnesses? Was it a sting operation? Was it one of their buddies that set her up? Where is man? They said stone her. But what do you say? And Jesus stooped down and wrote in the ground. And when he raised up, he said, he that's without sin, cast the first stone. Help me say, Jesus made the difference. But as I take my seat, it's now Friday evening on a hill called Calvary. Two thieves are hanging on each side. The one on the left said, if you be who they say you are, come down from the cross, save yourself, and save us. But Jesus, oh, come on, help me say Jesus, made a difference. The thief on the right said, Jesus. Yes, sir. Jesus. I've never been a religious man. Jesus. Never heard you preach. Jesus. Never been to church. I've never asked for anything. I've taken whatever I want to take. But as I see what's happening today, I saw the earthquake. I saw it become dark at midday. I heard the centurion say, surely you must be the Son of God. And Jesus, I just have one request. Woo! Woo! Just one request. When you get in the kingdom, remember me. Jesus. Help me say Jesus. Once again, help me say Jesus. Makes